Had a customer come in and his complaint was his battery had 12.2 volts on it, but it wouldn't last very long. I did some testing, found out he had a bad cell, so he didn't understand the difference between state of charge and state of health. So as he had a 12.2 state of charge, he had a very poor state of health. So he left and he didn't get a new battery. So I'm sure he's found out by now that he needed a new battery and has put one in. A couple things with lead acid batteries. People like to use wing nuts. I hate wing nuts. Nobody ever tightens them enough. They come loose. I have fixed so many furnaces and refrigerators by tightening the terminals on the batteries. So here you can see he's got, maybe you can see it, he's got 12 volts here on the load tester. And he had about a 0.3 amp draw, which is kind of typical. It's going to be your LP detector and probably radio memory. This was the draw with one light on. And this was the draw with the refrigerator. So he had a three-way refrigerator that had a 12 volt element in it. I don't like the 12 volt elements. I suggest you only use it on 12 volt when it's plugged into the vehicle and running. So when you're towing, so it can maintain without having to run the propane. But I've seen lots and lots of issues with the 12 volt elements. So I try to avoid them. Most refrigerators don't even have three ways anymore. So here I'm doing the load test on his battery. This is after charging it for 2 days and it failed. So after they fail, then I do a hydrometer test on them. The first 5 cells were fine. This cell was not fine. So you can see here the converter was charging at 17 amps. So there's 2 things you got to be aware of: your state of charge and your state of health. Just because you have a 12.2 volts doesn't mean you have a good battery. You want to keep your tops clean. You want to make sure your connections are tight. You want to make sure your water level's up. Don't overfill them. I see them overfilled quite a bit and they boil over. And you want to make sure that they stay in a charged state. So you have to charge them frequently. Lead acid batteries have a pretty high self-discharge rate. I think most people don't realize that because they're used to like alkaline batteries that you throw in a flashlight. You keep them in your drawer for a year and you put them in your flashlight, and your flashlight's bright. So they think lead acid batteries are the same way, and they are not. They do have a self-discharge rate much higher than like a lithium battery. So the type of battery you use in your RV just really depends on how you're using it. So I hope that explains a little bit why this customer thought he had good batteries when they were at 12.2 volts. Thanks for watching.